The keto flu is a real thing, but what it is not is what most of these people on the internet are saying that it is. The fact is, there are 3 very scientific, very legitimate physiological reasons as to why you go through a ketogenic flu transition when you're first going into ketosis. So I want to make sure that you hear out this entire video because I'm going to break down the 3 main components. The first one all has to do with carbs, and it's actually sort of a 2-part equation. The first part with carbs is simply that you're going through a withdrawal. Plain and simple, okay? Sugar, carbs, they all activate the reward system of our brain, okay? The dopamine receptors, the same part of the brain that is activated by many street drugs. And the fact is when we withdraw, when we take away that sugar, we end up having a negative response, okay? We end up feeling depressed, we end up feeling lethargic, we end up feeling moody. There's definitely no denying that. But there's another factor when it comes down to carbs. And to really make sense of this, I have to show you with a little demonstration. So I want you to follow me into the kitchen really quick, and I'm going to show you how exactly this works and why you might be feeling nauseous and might be feeling kind of sick. So let's head into the kitchen. All right. So what I want to explain to you here is your carb tank and your fat tank. Okay, and this is what's happening with your carbs when you go through a keto flu kind of situation. I want you to think of this like a gasoline tank in a car. I want you to think of this like a reserve tank that can only be used if you burn through all of your gas. In this reserve tank, however, is jet fuel. Jet fuel that'll make you feel amazing and will absolutely rock your world. In here, you have regular old carbohydrates, regular old 87 octane gas that isn't doing much. So in order to get to these magical fats, we have to drain the carbohydrates. Draining them, burning carbs, 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 burning carbs. But then something happens. One thing that my dad, rest his soul, told me when I was a kid was never let your gas tank get super empty. So what's happening is at the bottom of your carb tank, you have yet to run on jet fuel yet, but you are still running on carbohydrates. However, you've got carbohydrates with sludge. Can barely come out. Makes you feel like total garbage because you're running on sludge. Once you get through that sludge, then, and only then, do you start burning this. Pure jet fuel. That's how it works. So when you're going through the keto flu, you're experiencing the sludge. You're at that magical transition point where your body is not quite running on fats yet, but it is still barely running on carbohydrates. Okay, well, while I'm here in the kitchen, let me explain something else. I want to explain the mineral side of things, okay? The mineral side of things is extremely important. When you go into ketosis or anything like that, or any low-carb diet, you don't have as much insulin. When you don't have as much insulin, you don't have the kidney function to really regulate sodium and water. You see, insulin directly communicates with the kidneys how much sodium to keep in the body or how much sodium to expel. So as soon as insulin is out of the equation because you're reducing carbs, your kidneys say, well, wait a minute, we need to expel as much sodium as possible because it's naturally what they default to do. So therefore you lose your sodium, you lose your magnesium, you lose a lot of minerals. And this leads me to the number 2 reason that you end up having the keto flu. Your electrolytes are totally out of whack. So you end up being pretty nauseous. Now we have to add insult to injury when we say that you're consuming a lot of fats all of a sudden. Your body's not used to that yet. So your body hasn't upregulated the enzymes yet. It doesn't know what to do. The gallbladder's on overload, the stomach's on overload, the enterocytes are on overload, you're not producing enough micelles, or his body just flat out isn't able to handle it yet. So you have that, then you have the electrolytes that aren't working, plus you're running on sludge. That's a pretty serious thing. So that's the whole transition theory there. But then there's another part of the gut health that comes into the equation too, and this all has to do with fat metabolism and electrolytes as well. When we don't have the electrolytes, we don't have as much water in our intestinal tract or water in our intestinal system in general. So it makes it really, really hard for the body just to operate right. Well, the other thing that happens is too much fat ends up causing an elevation of what are called endotoxins. You see, our gut flora is used to using carbs right now, and when we suddenly take away the carbs and start adding in fats, the gut bacteria balance is out of whack. You see, the gut bacteria that feed on fat are actually really, really good, but it takes time for them to thrive and adapt. So in the meantime, you go through this weird period of time where you have a high level of what are called endotoxins, which are basically toxic compounds that basically are bad bacteria that grow simply because they're adjusting to fats. all the good bacteria that was there is temporarily going away. This can be a really big issue, and that's exactly where bone broth comes in as a keto flu remedy. Now, I'm not just saying this because I'm biased and because I know Justin over at Kettle and Fire. You guys have seen my videos. I'm always talking about Kettle and Fire. This isn't an inauthentic pitch. This is just legitimately the company that I work with and the company that I stand behind. So when it comes down to bone broth, I highly recommend Kettle and Fire. All you have to do is head on over to my link. That's kettleandfire.com/Thomas. Super easy. Let me explain to you why bone broth works, and whether you end up taking advantage of Kettle and Fire or not is beyond me. But fact is, bone broth is going to help you out with the mineral side of things, so it's going to help the electrolytes, but it's also got the collagen that's going to help restore the gut and help out that gut bacteria so you get through that transition easier. So whenever I'm going through a keto flu, which quite honestly isn't very often anymore because I'm so adapted, I sip on bone broth. It helps the situation. I just kind of nurse on it throughout the course of the day, or if I feel like I'm super nauseous, it's something that I feel like I can get down. Now, of course, it's going to help mineral uptake specifically with Kettle and Fire because they actually use apple cider vinegar, which has acetic acid in it, which is proven through multiple studies to increase that mineral uptake. So anyway, that's that. The carb transition, the gut health, everything like that. There's one more thing that I want to talk about. We can head back over here. Okay, so this last component of the keto flu is probably the most scientifically realistic one. And this is the one that you really need to be paying attention to, okay? When you go through the keto flu, it's not just the carb transition, it's not just the minerals. No, it's the fact that your body is adjusting to excess ketones. So what do people usually do? Well, usually they go through the keto flu, so they think they need to increase their fats. And that's normally true when you're trying to get into ketosis. You want high amounts of fat. But when you're going into ketosis and you start getting the keto flu, that is your body telling you that you have too many ketones at that point in time and it's trying to adapt. So what do? Do you back off the amount of fats you consume? No, I don't recommend you do that. Do you add more fat? No, I don't recommend you do that. It's simple. You burn off the extra ketones. That's it. Your body is migrating into using ketones as a source of fuel. It's in the awkward transition period. So what do? You go and you do some cardio. You go and you do a full body workout and you burn up the ketones. It's going to do two things. It's going to allow you to burn up whatever glycogen, carbohydrates are left in your body, so you drain through that tank faster, but it's also going to allow you to burn up any potential excess ketones that are already there. Keto flu and the nausea associated with it is usually the threefold thing, okay? It's adapting to the fats, not having the enzymes. It's the minerals/gut health issue, but then it's the body adapting to ketones and not knowing how to use them right. The more fat adapted that you get and the longer that you're in ketosis, the more you will find you don't get the keto flu because your body knows how to utilize the ketone bodies faster, faster, and faster every single time you go out of ketosis and back in. So that's why keto flu is the worst the first time you go into keto. You'll get sweaty, you'll feel nauseous, you'll feel gross, but it's just your body adapting. So roll with it, burn it up, take care of your gut, and make sure, above all, that you understand what's happening in your body. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. If you have ideas for future videos, hit me in the comment section below, or if you have questions on the keto flu or you want me to go more in depth with any of these particular angles, I'm happy to address it. The link is in the description for Kettle and Fire if you want that offer. If not, I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.